And since then, we have iOS, Android, and web apps. We are converting at the industry rate of freemium model, and we have over 60,000 users. So we hit 60,000 with completely no ad spend as well. We just started playing around with ads and are seeing what we can do with that, and is really substantially growing. But that organic growth was phenomenal and just kind of really surprised us and blew us away and motivated us to keep going every single day. And we have over 5 million data points for the people who are in here that love data. I know that that's a big thing. How we're making an impact. So this is kind of talking about our organic growth and how we started it. We initially were labeled as a bisexual dating app, and we did that so people can find us when they're looking for us. And then we started expanding into more markets. We hit #1 spot for lesbian dating, LGBTQ dating, and free dating on the app stores. So people were searching for us and they were finding us. One of the first things you saw when looking for dating apps was Bindr, and that's how we used aggressive SEO tactics. And this is just a little clip of our dashboard and what our admin panel looks like. So it's how we make money. We have two main ways that we do it. It's a freemium model, so premium subscriptions where people can pay to get added features similar to some other dating apps we might know that rhyme with our name. And then we do B2B advertisements, so businesses can pay to advertise on our platform, and then users can pay us to hide the ads if they don't want to see them. And here's how we're growing. So as soon as we launched it, we got a few hundred users. This heart was InkU, exactly 1 year ago today is when I participated in my first pitch competition. Here, right over here, and one InkU, and we just had hit 10,000 users. We were like praying and hoping, because I really wanted to say 10,000 on that stage, and we just hit 10,000 users when we got up there. By the end of Summer Founders, we had hit over 40,000, and then 60, and then here's how our projections are growing now that we were able to raise some money. So 100,000 users, Q2, to 500, to 1 million, to 2 million users, and $500,000 of reoccurring revenue a month is our projections with our seed round secured. Yeah. How many are active? So about 90% are active, haven't deleted their account, but we have, I'd say 70% that are like active and using it on at least a weekly basis. Did you say that's about right?
So yeah, it's about 10,000 users a week.
Yeah.
To give you a little perspective to that.
So about 10,000 weekly active users.
It's more like, because people use dating apps and they're sporadic, so it might not be every day, but it might come back in 2 or 3 weeks. And then, based on our monthly active users, it's closer to like 30 or 40,000.
So about 30 to 40,000. I'm just repeating what Brandon said because for the mic, but about 30 to 40,000 monthly active users. This fluctuates a lot because dating apps, and we actually got told this. We got some insight info from some of our advisors and Summer Founders that said like dating apps are seasonal. You're going to see them go up and down and up and down, and we 100% saw that happen. So like during the holidays, there's like a spike, but the rest of the holiday, like during the actual holidays, but the rest of the holiday season, it's kind of dead. Like you could see during the summer it go up and then back down, and like just how much it signs up. Yeah?
Are those like active users in a concentrated area, or is that like across the United States, across India?
So those are worldwide. So we're targeting specific areas now, and we do have bunches in like specific areas. So LA, we have so many users. India, we're getting a lot. Pittsburgh and Philly, we have a high concentration. And honestly, like east of the Mississippi in the United States, there's a lot. And then LA, there's a lot. But we're worldwide. I know a lot of people are like back and forth on whether you should release in certain areas but we've just, we have it open to everybody. So they're literally all over. And then our competitive advantage, just how we did it, that we're the only application that has features similar to ours, that we are label free, And just a little screenshot of our grid view, something we've been working on, just constantly iterating the platform. Our team is honestly like a huge reason of why we're getting far and why we're working so hard. I have, as they said, a lot of experience with technical sales. My business degree, Penn State's been helping a lot in my classes. Brandon has 13 years of experience building dating apps and at all mobile platforms, but he's built about 4 dating apps, one which he exited on. And we have our junior developer and our marketing manager. We're just trying to build like a super strong team, and I'm so excited to be able to hire more people as this company's growing and create an awesome, inclusive like work environment. But so many times people will invest in you as the founders and the team. So I think that our co-founder partnership really is what sets us apart, that we have the passion for the product, we have the passion for the community, and the experience to back it up. Brandon's literally made this whole app mostly by himself, probably 99% of it by himself. So it's impressive. And then that's our exit slide. I'm not gonna stay on this, but feel free to connect with me, and I have cards. And then I wanted to get more into now like the discussion with you guys and talking about some of the things, you know, my journey and how I started. I didn't even know about the resources Penn State had. I'm a campus student, so I go to Penn State York, and we actually started like a few months before this. We started, like I said, we launched in August, but it wasn't until like January that I saw an email in my Penn State email saying something about IncU. Like students can earn $30,000 for their startup. And I'm like, that's me, I could do that. And I went and talked to the Launchbox director, Alan Lehman, and he went to my website. I told him some of my numbers, and he's like, wait, you actually have something here. You have a product. He's like, normally students come to us with an idea and we help you build the product. And I was like, okay, well, what can you give me? And he's just printing out lists of resources that I had no idea about, that I was just doing this on the side. And I had no idea what to expect coming into IncU. I applied. The video, we should have brought the video. It is not great when you look back at it. And a bunch of stock images and like, you know, background music of people swiping on dating apps and looking upset. But we got a call back, and people this year were saying like, it's cool to see the underdog like come through and win. And I really did feel that. Like I was one of the only women founders that was participating. I was the only branch campus student. I was one of the only like minority students, being a woman and being a queer woman, and just kind of felt like an outsider because everybody else knew each other for the IncU competition, and I didn't know anybody. But luckily, like the teams were so cool and so awesome. You know, Justin helped me with my pitch right beforehand, even though we were going head to head. So it was super helpful. And then Summer Founders Program was amazing. It really helped me build this to what it is now. So without the help of Invent Penn State, IncU, Summer Founders, and the multiple other pitch competitions I did, overall, I was able to secure Bindr with $37,750 equity free through Penn State and pitch competitions. And that allowed me to refuse a really bad investment deal that I almost took. We were offered $100,000 for 10% back in April, right after IncU, when we didn't know that that was a horrible deal. And they wanted to come in as co-founders, these people that had nothing to do with the idea, weren't even LGBTQ friendly. They just saw money and they saw that we had the product built already. And looking over the contracts, it wasn't good. But IncU, Penn State, our advisors here at Penn State told us to turn it down after reading it, and we were able to use that money to get us through the first year and to really make this into a real business and not just a student idea. So I really want to thank Penn State and also tell you to take advantage of every single resource that they have. So going into that, being a student, being a founder, and being both at the same time can be really difficult. It's a lot of navigating, a lot of organization, a lot of staying on top of it, and all the advantages and some disadvantages. So I'd have to say, like, the advantages are definitely better. Like I said, every single resource, find them, look them up, spend a lot of time looking for student competitions, student grants, different things that you can do, and take advantage of them. Apply for every single one. Even if you said, like, oh, I think maybe I'm not ready for Summer Founders yet. Still, like, apply for it. Give it your all every single time. Apply for every single thing, even if you don't know that you could get in, because getting 100 no's and 1 yeses is better than not trying for anything. And it'll help you. Every single no will also help you learn about what you did wrong. Like, even with YC, we've applied to Y Combinator 3 times? 2 times? Every single time after I go back and look at it and see, like, we're denied, I'm like, wow, I could have done this better, and every single one we put in is better. So, and also navigating imposter syndrome and avoiding burnout. This is me, finals week, and obviously I'm not super happy. I was freaking out, crying, trying to navigate the company, trying to do my finals, thinking I was gonna fail and, you know, drop out. And then here's me in Lisbon, Portugal, presenting in front of 20,000 people, literally a semester apart. So, like, it's important to try to navigate it and know that, like, you can do it all. 100% you can do it all, but you have to avoid that burnout. You have to go to sleep even if you have something really huge. You have to remember to eat, because literally just earlier this week, I had a day where I had meetings all day. I had to travel all day. It became like 8 p.m. at night, and I said, I haven't eaten anything today. Like, why am I so irritable? Why am I so grumpy? Why do I feel like if I'm doing one more meeting, I wouldn't be able to? And it's because I just didn't eat. So, you know, being able to navigate that and take time for self-care, even though you feel like, if I don't work hard right now, I'm going to be living with my parents forever, or I'm never going to get this job I want. Like, you still need to take time to take care of yourself, because that's been the hardest thing that I've learned. And you have to realize that, like, you're not an imposter. If you're doing it, you're doing it. And so many students, when we were helping INCU students for this year, were talking about, well, I don't want to lie about my numbers, or I don't want to feel like I'm not saying it. And just kind of, is that the next one?
That's the next one,
Yeah. Just pitching the big picture versus pitching where you're at right now, and how you can actually talk about where you're wanting to go. So, like, this slide here, and we're not at these numbers yet, but I can confidently say that we're going to hit these, especially with funding. Like, I know it. We're going to be making so much money. We're going to be helping the community with it. And are we making these numbers now? No. Will we soon? Do I know I can hit this one? 100%. So make sure that you know, by pitching your long picture, you're not lying. You are saying, I'm the right person to do this. I know I can hit it. And just owning it and really being proud of yourself, of your company, and what you can do, because you can do a lot. And I mean, for that, I guess I'd want to open up to questions and see how I can help you guys. It's been a super crazy year, like all of this over the last year. And I got accepted into Alpha Labs. That's what I wanted to talk about too. That kind of got went over just recently. I got accepted to an accelerator in Pittsburgh, similar to Summer Founders, but it's like, how do I put it? It's just a lot bigger. It's on a whole nother level. So it's a 6-month program run out of Pittsburgh of Innovation Works, where they give you $100,000 for 2% of your company, and around $400,000 of different resources. Like, we got AWS credits, we got different MailChimp credits, and they're helping us navigate with investors, and I'm learning so much for that. So I wanted to add that on quick. If you guys have any questions about it, or how we got our pre-seed closed, anything that I can do to help you guys, that's what I'm here for. I'm still a student myself, and I'm graduating in December, so anything I can do to help my fellow Penn Staters, I would love to.
So what's the process like of getting on the App Store? How does that work?
The process of getting on the App Store is a little difficult, and we actually got pretty lucky with it. We didn't realize how hard it was going to be to actually get the app approved. I think it depends on what your product is too, because with dating apps specifically, it's a bit oversaturated of a market and they don't want too many more. We were able to get it approved right away and keep iterating, but I would also say, try with your MVP. Like, push it out. Don't keep saying, it's not perfect yet, I don't have this feature yet. When we first launched, our messaging didn't even work right. You know, it looked really bad and people were still signing up. But once you're on the App Store, once you're approved, you can keep updating it. Updates, updates, updates. How many updates have we put out since we launched?
140.
140 updates since we launched the app, which is fine. It automatically updates on people's phones most of the time, or, you know, announces them. But getting that approval is sometimes the more difficult part. So
Yeah, the approval was our biggest.
you might need a mic, Bran.
I'll walk up to the thing.
Yeah. It's my partner, Brandon.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so to answer your question in terms of getting approvals, approvals in the dating app market for us, we didn't know this when we started. I didn't actually know that it was like a big issue. About 90% of dating apps get denied. The reason why we got them was because we had users already, because we put together a really rough landing page and we had like 100 people on it. And fortunately, Apple saw the potential in it as well. And we got approved within a week. It was actually the quickest approval I've ever seen through the Apple App Store.
So talking not dating apps, what would you say the success rate of getting, because he builds people's apps a lot for his day job and like how to pay the bills. So what would you say is the average, like, is it hard to do it when you're not doing a dating app? Because I know about the dating industry.
It's a lot easier, but they're cracking down more on social type apps just because, again, oversaturation. They want quality apps that are going out. So like typically a widget app or something like that would be really easy, but social apps could be a bit harder. It all depends on how you're marketing and how far along you are. So like I would recommend like starting with a website first, get some users, get some early adoption to that. Have that when you go into it because they're much more likely to approve you. You will always get Apple will always deny you for about 3 things though. So it doesn't matter, even a Bindr, we got denied 3 times, but the one that you don't want to get is the one that says, we don't want your app, which that's what goes out to a lot. Because like there is nothing to fix when they say that. It's like you have to beg them and really hope they change their mind. So like just avoid that. As long as they don't say, hey, we don't want you at all, then you stand a pretty high likelihood of getting approved.
What might be a reason they say that we don't want your app at all on the App Store itself?
Oversaturation. So like dating apps, they only want ones that have or serve a particular need or a particular niche. They don't want something that's like, hey, we're going to take on the entire world. And
or just a Tinder clone.
Yeah. They're tired of those. So like if your goal is to just like, we're going to beat Tinder because we think we're better and you don't have a real reason as to why you're better or doing something different, the likelihood of getting approved unless you're backed by like a big company is really low.
So make your differentiation very clear when you put your approval in.
Yeah.
Show why you're different than the other ones that are already doing well on the App Store.
Does it help to have like previous user interest already on the app
It helps.
for the approval itself?
Yeah, it helps so much when you have people already on it.
Yes,
And
it
like-
most definitely does.
And even with anything in a company, if you can get initial users to sign up for your platform, especially for free, the most valuable users we've ever gotten have been the organic ones, because they tell you who your market is, and if you're trying to find product market fit, which even though we have all these users, I think we're still a ways away from it, but finding product market fit is like the end all be all, and that's where you're profitable, you're making everything and everything's working right. And I think that's how you find it. That first step is like finding the groups of people that are willing to give you a shot, even if it's not the best solution, but it's better than it not existing at all.
For the Alpha Lab program we're working on, I'll just say quick too, one of the people who came in to talk to us that was Alpha Lab alum, he actually has a multi-billion-dollar company right now, and one of the first things he did was set up a landing page before he ever had any product. So he set up a landing page seeing how many people would be interested and acting like it was real, and so having them sign up. And once they signed up, it went to a page that said, thank you for your interest. We actually don't have a product yet. And if you're interested, would you like to be part of our beta?
Yeah.
And offering to be part of like the first version. And he said he had a few thousand people sign up on that in the first week. So just showing that gives your
He had
product.
a few thousand people that actually agreed to pay for it. That's how he asked the question. Yeah.
And so it shows and validates your idea even more, and shows other people that, other people want this too. It's not just in my head.
Yeah, and that was like real. It's like expanding out your network to like programs, whether it's an accelerator, whether it's Penn State, meeting those founders that have done it before you has been so valuable, at least for us, because it's validated what we've done right and wrong, and it has explained to us a bit more of like, oh, we did this right. That's why we got the users. That's why we got the approvals. Maybe we're not completely crazy, and it's kind of the driving force of why we keep going forward, because we're like, they're just 8 years ahead of us. We just haven't gotten there yet, and that's a big reason why we keep pushing.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you said that there were 4,000 people who agreed to pay for it? Is that what you said?
What was that?
Did you say that there was a few thousand people who agreed to pay for it?
That was talking about the other one that we did. So we do have paying customers.
Yeah.
Right now we have about 650 active paying customers, but you have to remember that ours is on a monthly basis. So people unsubscribe, people resubscribe. It changes a lot. Everyone pays about $20 a month. That does pay us, and it's a freemium model. So it's very common for upwards of 90% of your user base to be free users, which is great. It adds value to the paid users. It has more people for other people to talk to. But right now we're about 650 paid users.
Yeah, I think we're getting ready to break 700. We're at
Almost
we're at
700.
650 about 3 weeks ago when we did our last report.
Which
on
is
it.
great because it goes up and down as people subscribe and unsubscribe. So we could get like 100 new customers, but if 100 fall off, it's staying about the same.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about R&D, if you did surveys to see if people would pay for it. And
Oh.
Yeah.
That was another founder that told us about his journey, and that's what they did. So he's running a company that's doing some billions and billions of dollars a year now. He went out and asked hey, his biggest pain point was helping rideshare drivers manage their funds and their traffic with it. So he went out and got a bunch of people and did things that didn't scale, and just went out there and got all these people to sign up and put their information in. But then he asked a question on there saying are you ready to pay now? And then that's how he checked
And he had a big button that said, I'm committed. And they'd have to click this big button that said, I'm committed, to try to get people to commit to paying. And then they would, they would put out a deposit even though his product wasn't even out yet. So he had people signing up and paying him for the product, knowing that the launch date's to be determined, soon, because they needed it so much and it served their problem so much. So that's kind of where all these programs go back to. Don't find a product first, find a problem and how to fix it.
Yeah, our way of doing it was, I was an iOS app developer. I built a few dating apps before. She said she wanted to do it, and I was we thought on this idea for a while, so I was
we had the name for a while.
We got a few hundred users to a paid landing page. We did $50 in ads just to see it, and I knew the conversion rate was really good, but I also knew it was going to take a lot of money. So I was well, let's give this a shot. Let's put it on the App Store. We didn't really know what was going to happen, but after doing that, we found our niche, and then we knew that we were onto something because all of those users were free. We didn't pay any. They just started signing up, and we're whoa, Apple's ranking us high because we're the new bisexual dating app. We're these new things, and then that started to transpire over to Android, and that transpired over to web, and now if you search bisexual dating in pretty much any market, you're gonna find us in some capacity, and that's
if you search it on your app store right now, you'll see us.
Yeah.
But we also kind of did it a little backwards, not backwards, but we just did it different. A lot of people, when they want to start a company, they brainstorm, they think about it, they get their team together, they do all this stuff. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm not saying that's wrong at all, but that's just a different way than we went. We kind of just got the product first and then threw it out there. Is that me? No. And okay. And just went from there. Like we had the product first before we ever had a team, before we had money, before we had anything. We just like decided, honestly, it was Tinder banning me. That was the last straw for me. I wanted to meet people. I wanted to meet men and women, and I couldn't. I kept getting banned from these different platforms. Even if I try to sign on to Tinder right now, it says you're banned. Like I can't even do it now, and it's been years. So,
Yeah.
but in late,
Yeah, they would say you're a competitor now. That's probably
yeah,
why.
that's probably why. But late 2022, I went on to try to swipe to like find a date for the weekend, and I literally going in to have a meeting with him about sales, and as soon as I walked in, I was like angry, and I was like throwing my phone. I'm like, I'm so tired of these dating apps. Like they keep giving me men, or only women. They won't. It's nothing what I want. It doesn't feel like it's right for me. And he's like, well, we've been talking about Bindr. Are you ready to do it? I'm like, I'm ready. You ready? And we just he's like, okay, I'll start coding.
Yeah, and this
he's like,
goes-
you start making, you start, looking stuff up for business. Like, I'm going to start coding. And it just happened over 2 weeks during summer break. Yeah.
So you're still the main backend engineer?
Yes. Yeah.
He's full stack. He does front, back. He does all. We have it on React Native, so we can cross-platform. And he's awesome. He does everything. I learned how to code. I did some Python classes, and I do Code Academy, but I don't actually touch the app right now because I don't want to break anything. The only thing that I'm helping do is some of the language integration for different languages to make the app in Spanish, because my family's Mexican and I know a little Spanish, so I'm helping with that. But Brandon's just about everything when it comes to tech. He's the designer, he's the engineer, he's the CTO, he's the lead for the developers under him. He hypes me up a lot, I hype him up a lot, but it's because we see the hard work that the other one's doing.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to say. That was above all else in a company, first of all, it's really hard to do something alone, and that was a hard thing for me to accept. So one of the reasons why we didn't just build it, or there was options to build it before, I was like, I don't want to be CEO. I never did. I didn't think that was something I wanted to be up there and do. And also, it was a different point. I wasn't completely open myself. So there's a vulnerability aspect of it. You got to put yourself out there in an LGBTQ dating app. You better be ready to sing it from the rooftop.
He was like, everyone's gonna know that you're gay, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm ready. And he's like, well, and the first networking events we went to, they were asking, are we our own target market? And I'm like, yeah. And then he was a little more shy, so it took him a few months. And Bindr's actually, I do it all the time. I'm not outing him, but he talks about it all the time now. But Bindr is really what allowed Brandon to be out with his own sexuality and come to more terms with it as a man in technology. And it's looked at so differently, honestly, because people look at me a little differently being an open queer woman. And I get different looks for being a woman founder and a woman CEO too. But people oh, okay, you're actually using it, you're actually on it. Or if he'll tell his story about previous relationship issues, and it's kind of comes out that yes, I've been with both genders. It's interesting. It's an interesting dynamic of how Bindr has allowed us to grow as people too.
Yeah, that's why I said co-founder dynamic through and through.
He was scared to do it.
It's so important when starting a company, and if you're getting in technical. So the reason why she started getting into tech was she saw me working at my own agency building apps, and she saw a lot of CEOs fail. And not willing to get into the tech is hard. It's not that you have to be the expert in it, but you have to be willing to at least accept that this is the endeavor you're taking on, and it's really important that you understand what your technical people are doing, and it's really important that you have a CEO that understands and appreciates that and takes it at a very.
And I'm going to age
level.
myself quick. Some people in the room might understand. When I first started doing code, I did HTML for my MySpace. That's how I learned how to code, because I was I wanted to do different stuff and make my MySpace look cool. So I started when I was 13 on my old family computer too. And then as we're going and talking about it, I was like, oh yeah, I know how to do this. He's like, well, you need to tell people that you used to code. I'm like, well, I didn't do anything crazy. I just changed the colors of my MySpace and moved stuff around and hid my song, you know? And he's like, no, but you still dabbled, like you still know what you're doing. And I was able to pick it up a lot easier when I started again. But
So we have we have a few questions from online. First one, what is the best advice you can offer on managing self-care while adding more strategies to keep the business productive and innovative? And then the second part of that question, how do you not lose yourself in your work?
So utilizing your co-founder relationship and keeping each other accountable is a really big way to keep yourself on track and to try to figure out how you're going to iterate, what strategies you're going to use and when, as well as there's so much technology, there's so much software. Using a software like Trello or another Kanban that can help you keep track of all your individual tasks, where you are on them, the priorities of them is huge. Using your Google Calendar is huge. Do you have anything to add to that?
If you're talking specifically about development managed workflow, I deal with that all the time. And I have to say, like, honestly, is you have to take the really big problems, like the really complex, like the stuff that's going to write a ton of code, and then write as least amount of code as possible. And then add in features that way. Don't take on, like, we can't, even at our level right now, we can't take on Tinder's development team. But we can pick out what features our community needs. So, like, again, it's like just keeping focus on it and not over-engineering it. It's hard as engineers to not fall into that cycle, but don't over-engineer it. That'd be my biggest advice.
And how to not lose yourself in your company and your product. Honestly, it's hard because if you want to be successful and you want to see growth, you have to put your all into it sometimes, and you have to be passionate about it. You have to do research. You have to really be in it, but you have to find that balance. And I'm not saying like a normal work-life balance that some people might have where you go work 9 to 5 and then you come home. It's going to be more than that, but still find time for yourself. I challenged our friend Matt Christensen, that you guys probably all know, to spend 2 hours a week doing absolutely nothing productive. And yeah, everyone's laughing because it's not, but you need to do something, even if it's just 2 hours a week. Go paint, go skateboard, go do something. And it's not working out at the gym and eating healthy. That's something you do for your body. Do something for your mind that will completely take it off work. And I'm not saying like complete even. You probably are going to have to work on your startup a bit more than, you know, your personal, but stay focused on something you love. Don't make your startup your whole personality. Don't make it your baby that if it fails, you're going to be devastated and dead. You know, have something for you too.
One more question from online. When you say your competitive advantage is quote unquote label free, what do you mean?
So by that, not having your sexual orientation set is something that is missed on a lot of dating apps. You go on, even one of our biggest competitors, Tammy, claims to be very inclusive, and they have 22 sexual orientations. We don't have you set your sexual orientation at all. Like 22, that's a lot. You are like Googling which ones you don't know what they are. Is this me? I'm not sure. As well as sexuality is so fluid. Gender identity is fluid. It's a social construct. I could get into that and talk forever. But like the fact that this was missed and overlooked, and a lot of people are kind of unsure where they are in their sexuality, and that's completely okay. You can feel like there's a lot of times there's grown people who are married and love their partner but still want to explore this other side of them, and that's fine. You don't have to set a label to yourself. We're trying to get people to just meet for who they are and not any sexual orientation. It makes it so much more inclusive and so much more, you know, together feeling.
Yeah, and to follow up, so like back to my previous point of over-engineering, so the reason why we didn't put this in the app wasn't a big strategic move. It was like a gut feeling that it wasn't important enough to build in the first iteration. That it wasn't something necessary, because we asked ourselves, like, do we need this? And it was an added layer to the algorithm, it was an added layer to like all of these things that came with just adding this one field. More filters, whatever it may be. So if we would have over-engineered it and we put in like every single thing and looked at every single competitor then we would have missed it the same way that every other competitor did.
And when we went to Pride events over the summer, 2023, we went to about 8 Pride events. This year we're doing even more across the country. So many people came up to us using the app. We had a big flag, they'd scan the QR code, download it, and they're like, I love this feature. I love that I don't have to set my sexual orientation, that you say right in the app, select whatever gender you feel comfortable with, like we're not checking your pants, so just that. People were loving it. People absolutely adapted to it quickly. We found that we actually accidentally found this market that worked, and that it worked in so many different places. In rural Pennsylvania, where we went for some pitch competitions, we had people coming up to us like crying that they were so ecstatic to see me up here, and they felt represented, and then they're not safe and they're not out. Like my family doesn't even know stuff. And just experiencing all that, we realized that we had something here with the label free, that we're not pushing anybody to go anywhere they're not ready to yet, but we're also like, you can come meet people who feel the same way as you.
It gave us also a huge market advantage. I mean, the growth strategy of being able to do bisexual, lesbian, and all these other categories by not having any bias towards it has made it a lot easier to move into markets more efficiently and organically.
I also had people coming up like questioning themselves at the booths, because the one woman said, well, if nobody has their sexual orientation, how do I know where the other lesbians are? And I said, do you like lesbians or do you like women? And she's like, well, I like women, but I generally only date lesbians. And I said, why? If you like women and they're women, like, is it maybe something you should explore with yourself? And she's like, okay, and just like walked away thinking
with
about
one
it.
of the cards.
She grabbed the card, walking away thinking about it, and I was like, this is just what I'm trying to engage. This is what I'm trying to spark, these interesting conversations, like, where is this bias that I have coming from? Is it valid? Do I actually feel this way? Am I actually have a problem with queer people or with bisexual people, or is it just like an insecurity I have? So by breaking down that, we've really hit a lot of different aspects that we didn't even really mean to, that has organically grown throughout the year.
Did you leave MailChimp after your 3 credits or not?
We actually haven't used MailChimp specifically. What one do we use?
I think we're using Send and Blue right now.
Send
we're
and
using
Blue?
Amazon SES, and we still have credits with all of them.
We still have
We've been running
credits.
really lean in terms of our
We don't
server
send that
credits.
many emails. We probably should more, but it's expensive.
Yeah. So we send I don't know. We send a welcome email right now. We're putting more marketing emails in there, but in terms of our Amazon spend at the moment is like $100 a month. It's really, really lean. So we have a ton of credits that we can still use, which is really nice.
Right now, we're kind of just using the ones we have credits for. I just said MailChimp because that's what people know, but it's just a competitor.
Yeah.
And we're going to be sending out emails talking about different events that we're going to or sponsoring, drag shows we're sponsoring, hey, we're in LA for Pride, come see Bindr booth, to all our users that might be in that area, stuff like that. But we're still really in the trying to run lean stage. Our pre-seed was $100,000. We got it all one place, and we're stretching that quite far.
Yeah, and we so just to give perspective, because the world for us was opened rather quickly. We thought 100,000 pre-seed was normal, but to put it in perspective, a lot of other companies in similar programs they raised 500,000. But we wanted to retain more equity, and that's why we've gone straight to a seed, because now that we have a product that we can scale at a seed level.
And we didn't have to pay a development firm, thankfully. We were able to build it ourselves.
How did you guys get a user base before getting it on the App Store?
Just a website and SEO, and you spent $100, right?
It was $50 or $100. It was nothing, but we found out that our conversion rate on Google Ads, just in the U.S. market, was about 30 to 40 cents. So that gave me an idea of a test, but that website never actually worked. What was crazy though is those 200-300 people that came on, some of them started paying for that. Once they started getting emails and realizing that it was a thing that they could use, their need was so strong after 2 years of it just kind of sitting there as this idea brainchild, that they still came on and paid for it eventually.
They started as a broken, kind of sketchy looking website. We should have before and afters of our website of all caps Bindr, really dark, hookup-y vibes. and then of what we've kind of evolved it to. But we saw people who signed up that first version come back months later and start paying for it because you see their user ID and it's like 34. Like the 34th person that ever signed up is paying along with like the 34,000th person. You know what I mean? So that was pretty cool.
You mentioned that you don't pay anything in like paid marketing, and most of it's really organic growth. Is there a reason behind that?
So there was a few reasons, mostly because we were getting users from the organic. We pushed those methods really hard, and we were also just trying to run lean. So we just started paying for ads. I don't want to get that messed up, but it's been within
Last week.
just in March is the first time we started paying for ads. But we also have paid to go to Pride and market events, but that's not even to get users as much as it's just to talk to the community, get their feedback and see like potential users and put ourselves within the community and see what they want, try to get the right people hearing about it. But honestly, it's just us trying to run lean and get as much as we can organically as possible. Brandon knew how to do SEO. He kind of taught himself through this, didn't you?
There was a few strategies that came like after we did it, but one of the things that we did was like we put bisexual dating in the title of the app.
So instead of just Bindr on the App Store, it says Bindr bisexual dating.
So when people typed in bisexual dating apps, we ranked up really quick, and then we got some good initial reviews. We had good user retention. Those analytics went back to Apple, and they just kept ranking us higher and higher and higher. So we were solving a big enough need, even with a poorly put together app initially, but the need was big enough that people were still signing up, still putting their profile photos, even completely unoptimized. Matt Brazina, one of the advisors that does a lot here, like he said to us, he's like, you guys must be solving like a pretty big problem because your sign up flow sucks.
He signed up himself. He said, if people are using this app the way you have it right now, and you have 20,000 users, that this is huge. This is going to be huge. You're solving a huge problem because it was painful, like getting through the sign-up flow. And he gave us some good advice, but
it's a little less painful now, but I wouldn't even say it's perfect. We're still improving and iterating.
Yeah.
What was the advice that he gave you?
His advice was to just keep pushing for it. I think the biggest advice that he gave us, though, is like from a student level founder was stop thinking so small. He was like the total addressable market, I think he saw real early on that it was much bigger than we were giving credit for, that we were thinking too small because we thought that's what people wanted to hear. Mm-hmm. We thought that's what the right thing to do with students was to be like conservative, but that's not how it works in the world of VCs. Like you have to think about the big picture and the grand plan.
He also told me that I should consider dropping out. And I was like, I can't, like I'm so close. But it was interesting to see people saying like, and Penn State advisors coming to me, and it's not the first one, but I don't want to get any in trouble, but I've had a few people say like, this is really big, like you might have to go completely full time and take a break from school. And that was hard to hear because I'm a first generation college student. None of my parents went to college. Like I most of my family are high school dropouts, and I really wanted this, and I really want the company too, but I'm so close to graduating, so hearing that was difficult. So that kind of also played into like when to know when to be a student, because we've gotten some great advice for free from people who would normally charge a lot of money, like just by messaging people on LinkedIn and starting it with, hi, I'm a student founder and I'd really love your advice. And just short, sweet, simple, they're most likely going to message you back. They get so many messages on LinkedIn, I promise, of people trying to sell them stuff, you know, all this different stuff. But that's one of the times to utilize the fact that you are a founder. Sometimes with like VCs or people you're trying to get money from, maybe don't tell them unless they ask that you're a student, because they want to know you're working on your product full time. But when you're trying to get advice, when you're trying to get help, like Jack Zerby helped us completely redesign our website for free, just because we were Summer Founders team. We reached out to him. He also helped us with another really big video, but we just reached out and said, hey, I'm in Summer Founders. Elizabeth Hay told me to reach out to you. If you had any time to sit and talk with us, we would appreciate it. And it was one of those things that's just invaluable, to use your network talk to people, that's the time to utilize, I'm just a student, I'm no threat to you, you know, please help me for free.
Yeah, so I guess to sum that up, advice, you're a student. If you're asking for money, you're a founder. So know the difference, because like there are people out there, myself included, that if a student reaches out to me, I'm gonna want to talk to them more. But if it's just some random person thinking that they can get an edge on the market by talking to me, that puts me off a little more. So like it's there's like just two different things. So like take advantage of it while you can, because like believe me, all of this building, this network, the launch box, and all of that, like not everybody has that.
Yeah,
when
use
starting a
advantage
startup.
of it.
Yeah.
I've also found that when it's like VCs or different type of people who might be interested in investing with you or being your mentor or anything, one of the things we've learned is when you ask for money, you often just get advice. When you ask for advice, you're gonna get money or some type of mentorship or some type of help that you didn't expect. Here, let me connect you with this person. Here, I know this program that might be interested in being your customer. When you just go to them, genuinely asking for advice, even though and not to be like tricky or anything, you know, but I found that really happens a lot. Or, hey, I'd really love your input. I saw that you invested in XYZ company. They're similar to me. Could you just spend 30 minutes talking to me? And then at the end of the call, they might be more interested in giving you a check than you initially thought.
So how as founders do you kind of protect what you have developed? Or is there legal things that you can use kind of in your favor to keep what you have?
Yeah, Penn State Law Clinic helped us with that a lot. We actually filed our trademark for the name Bindr through the Penn State Law Clinic. They can do a lot of the first steps that you need. Brandon has set up this, I don't know the exact semantics of it he does, but he has a web search notification that anytime the word binder comes up on the internet, he gets pinged. So anytime people are using our name, anytime people are posting articles about us and different stuff, we're gonna know about it. And that's one way to stay on top of it, because as soon as we started getting popular, there was a game that came out, and it was an adult virtual game, and they decided to call it Bindr Kink Dating. And that's not what we're trying to portray. We are user friendly. We are, you see our branding, it's all hearts and purple and pretty. So that's one thing that we had to reach out to them with legal and tell them, you can't use our name.
Yeah.
You can have your game, you can do whatever you want, that's none of our concern, but you can't have it called Bindr.
But my recommendation to that, though, is do not get caught up in patents if you're in software.
Yeah, don't do that.
If you're in hardware, that's much different. But if you're in software, you're just revealing your secrets by doing that. They can rework it. You'd never be able to prove it anyway if somebody was using it. So the biggest advantage from all the programs we've went through and that we learned is stay away from publishing anything. Keep it locked in GitHub. Make sure it's all private. Make sure. Yeah, the IP side of it is how you protect your company. And then it comes down to survival of the fittest. So some sketchy dating app, whether we can get that removed with trademark protection or not, we're going to outlive them because they come and they go. But we're the ones that are going to stay, and we're the ones that have the top rankings, and that's we're the ones doing the right thing. So if somebody's coming along doing the wrong thing, it's always seen through.
And knowing when to take it away from Penn State Law Clinic and actually getting real, they're real lawyers, they're amazing, they do a great job, but I had to bring on a full law firm with Bindr in beginning of February. So just knowing when it's time for that is kind of important. When we are closing investment, I'm trying to do all this legal paperwork on myself, and they're sending it back to me this XYZ is wrong. And I don't know why. I took one law class in Penn State. I don't know exactly how to do all this, and I did end up having to bring on a whole firm just to work with us. And luckily, they're a startup firm, and they're friendly to our prices and have a scale up of as we get bigger, we pay them more and whatnot. But really knowing what you can handle and what you need help with is important too. It's a hard balance to strike.
Was there anything that you overlooked, but it had a big impact, the sign-up flow?
Oh, okay, that's a good question. I think one of the things we overlooked was the name. So Bindr was like bisexual dating Bindr.
That's what was in our head.
Yeah, so that was what was in our head. And then we went to Pride events, and then it was like non-binary, chest binders. All of these other things fit into the name, and so many people had different reasonings behind what our name was. And like we realized, I think the first few times we were like, oh no, it's for this. Like we tried to correct it, then we realized, like, no, that's the whole point of our product, and that's how the fluidity came into it. Is like we have this name that we knew was clever, but we didn't realize how much it fit to the product that we had, and that it was super fluid in the sense that it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and that was an oversight on our end as well. Like we didn't know that at first.
We're sitting behind our table at Pride, and people are walking by. A lot of people were stopping and talking to us, but as people walk by, it's funny to see them go in and be like, hey, I get it, and like laugh, or oh, you're bi Grindr. I heard that. Oh, it's like Tinder, but bi, yeah. Oh, do you give chest binders? Because, you know, stuff like, and that's one of the things I'm working on doing. Or, oh, this is for me, I'm non-binary? And I'm like, yep, it is.
Yep.
Like, we just saying yes, yes, yes. The one person said, you guys are binding folks together. And I'm like, yeah, you know, you guys are all right. Anything that you think is right with our name, like, yeah, if you feel a connection to it, I want you to feel that connection and that it's right. So like, and obviously us not putting sexual orientations in worked out in our favor. That was something that got overlooked, but we touched on that a bit. And I think just our name definitely gives us a competitive advantage. People love it.
Yeah, so I think the answer to your question more directly though, we took for granted how important our users were going to be, how important the community was going to be, because every step of success has been from them, not from us. Mm-hmm. So
make what your users want, make what your customers want, not as much what you want. Like, even if you're thinking, well, I don't agree with it, I don't think that's right, you keep hearing the same thing over and like, we had a timeline feature in and we weren't liking it, so we took it out and we realized the engagement went down. People weren't coming on as much. So we put it back up, and people liked it again.
So we just had to do more work. We had to put more content moderation and
yeah,
things in. So that's why we want to take it down, because it wasn't giving people the experience that we like. So we noticed that we're getting a high drop off of new users, but the people that were engaging with it were like not engaging as much. So it was like one of those things that's like, oh, we're in this now. We got to just get it right. We have to just iterate it. And so we put it back, and now we're like getting like 10 times the engagement we were even like a month ago by putting in the correct content moderation filters in there.
What would happen if you like paywall something like a timeline?
So we started with a paywall on the timeline. We've actually reduced the paywalls. We've gone with it to increase engagement. We did that so we could, that was our only content moderation tactic, was that we did a paywall, then we did like one post per week, and now it's one post per day if you're a non-paying user.
Yeah, so right now, if you are a free user, you can post on the timeline once a day. If you want to keep posting on it multiple times, like make it your own personal Instagram feed, you have to be a paying user. We do have paywalls up for certain things, like to see who liked you or to message first. So right now it needs to be a mutual match. They need to like you and you need to like them to free message, but you still can free message people. But if you want to just go message every single person that gets your fancy, you got to pay. So we do have some paywalls, but
yeah. And it's all iterations like that. I'd say our paywalls change on a weekly basis. So
Yeah.
like we're just putting them in the right spots and like figuring out the best
I'm
monetization.
trying not to make it feel like we're asking for people to pay at every single step. We're trying to make it like actually useful, and where it's not people thinking, oh, I can't even use this without paying. Like, we want the free users to be able to feel comfortable and use it as well, but still also convert and get paid users.
Yep.
It's a delicate balance as well.
Why did you decide to use AWS as a starting point as your cloud service?
Free credits.
Ah.
It's simple.
Yeah.
And plus, I've worked with AWS before, so I know that it can be prohibitively expensive if you do it wrong. But if you optimize it right, you can do really well with it. And we just felt confident in the infrastructure, because pretty much every cloud service you can run into like high payment issues with it. Yeah.
Because even with ours, so we got free credits for AWS, it was just so hard to set up optimizing costs moving forward. We just migrated like immediately. We're like, all right, that's something that we can take a look into the future once you get more user growth. So yeah, that was basically my question.
Yeah, I would just say what we did was a service at a time as we integrated. So we had a shared server, and we've just integrated each service as we would hit capacity with it over. So we do like S3, we do like slowly moving RDS over and doing these things. So they're just making sure it's really optimized and that the code was set up really well. They handle large amounts of data. Like something as simple as like indexing your databases can like be the difference of you paying $1,000 a month or paying $100. So just like be really up on the tech at a high level, and then that's why don't over-engineer. It's easier to handle your tech when you have less to work with, because fixing those problems later, they become much harder as you scale.
Got it.
Yeah. All right. Yes?
One quick question.
You're good.
How long from the thought of the idea to where you are, or to really getting it on the market and getting it going, how long did that really take you?
Thought of the idea, that's probably like 4 years, really.
But it wasn't 4 years of like actively working on it all the time.
Yeah.
Like we had the idea, we put up a landing page, kind of put it on the back burner. Went
Not
on-
kind of, like I didn't even think of, I forgot I had the
So
domain.
very much put it on the back burner, yeah. Just put it up,
Yeah.
let it live its own life, didn't really do anything with it. And then as time went on, from that time that we sat down and I slammed my phone on the desk and said, done with this, let's do it, to the point of having the app launched. It was like August 10th, 2022, and we had it launched by
The 21st was the official date we went live on the App Store.
the 21st.
And we had our
of
first
August.
300 users from that by August 28th. Yep.
And then since then, obviously now it's, March of 2024, so it's been a little over a year, and we're working on it every single day, taking it very seriously now. But there was a point where we had the idea, we kind of forgot about it, and then I got really upset with dating apps, and I was like, I'm just making my own, like I'm done with this. And from that point, we started actually focusing and working hard, but we were still running super lean and not doing it very traditionally.
Yeah.
All right, we are out of time, but if anyone has any other questions, you could perhaps grab them in the hallway after this.
Yeah, and we have she has some office hours. I'll be with her as well.
Yeah, I have office hours,
So I think there's some
virtual.
spots open still if you guys have more questions.